All right, family. Black Power. Black Power is the truth hour with General Cyrus soon said he kicked back. Get your mind ready for some information that's guaranteed to be heavy. We got a powerful presentation today. We're going to be talking about the Etruscans, the African founders of Greece, Rome. Yes, indeed, was there long before the Greek, long before the Roman. We're going to talk about it, family. Before we get started, I want you to get over to my Patreon. Link is at the top of the chat. Check it out. We got over 500 exclusive live streams off the chain. Ain't nothing but the truth. Get over there, check it out. Also, KingSeti.com, online marketplace, official General Seti products, DVDs, t-shirts, hoodies, African Kemetic jewelry. We got some fly over there that I know gonna, make you feel good. Also, I want you to become a member of my YouTube page, General Seti, Cyrus Seti, keeping it 100 about the truth. Get over, become a patron, unlock exclusive material, and also give a video a thumbs up, like it because you love it, share it with your family and friends, comment, just don't say nothing stupid because you will get banned. So we talking about the Etruscans. Now, a lot of people they've kept the Etruscans hid, even though they came hundreds of years before the Romans. A lot of people don't understand, and they're not somebody that they got tombs. You see what I'm saying? They got all type of elaborate tombs over there in Italy. The arch, most of even the gladiator, how you go in the Colosseum, they created that. Most of all the arts and sciences and all the culture that you see that's been attributed to the Romans came by way of the Etruscans. Okay? Came by way of the Etruscans. And so now you looking at some of the actual artifacts that come out of Etrusca. Now I'm gonna get the let's get something up here. Let me get something up here so we can work. Now, as you can see, these are actual sculptors and sculptures that come out of Etrusca. Okay, you can see clearly that these are African people, and they've known this a long time. We got vases. I mean, we talking about hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of vases, paintings depicting African people in these areas. So there's no doubt about it. And every time they see an African, they're gonna say, "Oh, that's a slave" or some shit like that. That's what they're gonna say. And so that's what they always say. But the fact is that these are the original peoples, and the fact that there is documentation that they was there. You know what I'm saying? We couldn't even get people to verify that they was even in the land. But the fact that they got sculptures of our people, in these areas long before the Romans. Okay, long before the Romans. The Etruscans is before the Romans. And so, matter of fact, let me get in here. Let me show you the map. Let me get the map. Get some map work. Hold on, fam. Let me get this map work in. Nah, this is Italy, of course. And you can see that this is the area in which the Etruscans ruled. Now they had 12 league cities. Okay, 12 league cities, and you can see them, they're highlighted. You see the red dot, but they got the like a white glow coming off of them. Those are their top cities. But the ones in reds are still Etruscan cities. So even Rome, if you look down there, Rome was also an Etruscan city before the Romans. Okay. Matter of fact, let me go on. Now I did the timeline of the Etruscans. I did the timeline. Matter of fact, it's right here. I did the timeline of the Etruscans verses, and this is what they saying. They saying that pre-Etruscan foundations, they was in there. They saying the pre-Etruscan culture was 1800 to 900 BCE. So you know what I'm saying? Now let's see. Let me see the Roman timeline. Let me see the Roman timeline. So they got traditional founding of Rome 753 to 509 BC. So that just show you how long the Etruscans was in there before the Romans really got moving. You see, you understand that. So you talking about 753 to 509 BC. Okay. So and even just like I said, you know, they say their first king was Romulus. And so again, you always get that mythological. And so, not like in Egypt where the first king has actually been found. But anyway, the Roman Republic was from 509 to 27 BCE. So the Republic lasted, almost 500 years. You see, lasted about almost 500 years. So now, when you talk about the Etruscans, you got the pre-Etruscan foundation, 1800 to 900 BC. Okay, then you got the Villanovan period. Okay, now the pre-Etruscan foundations, late Bronze Age peoples in Central Italy, cremation burials, urine fields. So they had urines, where you put they cremate them and put them in, whether it's vases or, they got things that they put early metallurgy forms the genetic and cultural base of Etruria. Okay, then you got the Villanovan period, 900 to 700 BCE, which is the early Iron Age phase of Etruscan development. You see, they, cremation, and they put them in these elaborate what they call them, urns, and they got pictures of them. A lot of them is made out of stone. Growth of stable settlements in Etruria, modern Tuscany, and they got various, modern counties in Italy that would have been a part of Etruria. And then you have the Orientalizing period, 700 to 600 BCE. So it was a explosive cultural expansion where there was influence from the Phoenicians, the Greeks, the Near East, which means Egypt, and you know what I'm saying, which they try hard. And really, again, if they could claim, if the European could rightfully claim Etrusca, man, they would have been out here already. They would have highlighted them. Why wouldn't they? You see, why wouldn't they had highlighted them? But the fact that they have kept them hidden for so long, there is a reason for that. There is a reason for that because they were closely connected to the Africans. That's really what it is. You see, they were closely connected to the Africans. So you got the Orientalizing period, 700 to 600 BC, elite tombs, gold work, phoenixes. You hear that? Lions, griffins. You see, that influence from Egypt and Phoenicia is truly influenced because the Greeks is being influenced the same way, And then you got the archaic our archaic height of power, 600 to 500 BC, golden age of the Etruscans, confederation of city states, 12 city league, and you see that right there on the map. All of this is before Rome, y'all. There is no Rome. Rome is a part of Etrusca. You see? And people, that's almost in the fact that this is not being taught in everyday school. You know, they tell you about the Romans, but they don't tell you that the Romans took everything that they got from the Etruscans. Okay, and you will never hear about Etrusca in your life. If somebody, they still like an outcast, because you talking about in the heart of what they call Europe. You see, in the heart of Europe, and so dominated northern and central Italy and early Rome. Control trade routes. Kings ruled Rome. You see, and so when you talk about even Rome, the first kings of Rome were Etruscans. They were Etruscans, and that hurt them. And then you got your classical period declines begin. So that was 500 to 400 BC, expulsion of Etruscan kings from Rome. That's 509 BCE. Okay, so that's really where Rome started coming on the scene, right around 509 BC. And so they took some military losses, and then they had a Hellenistic period, 400 to 264 BC, and so it was strong influence from the Greeks onto Etrusca, and then the Roman conquest. Okay, 264 to 100 BC, systematic Roman annexation of Etruscan cities. Etruscans absorbed after Roman expansion in Italy. In 90 BCE, Roman citizenship was granted. So they didn't take over until almost 264. So that's almost unbelievable that, nobody talks about that. That's almost just around the corner that they really took over, annexed Etrusca. And so what's clear as I was reading, they were very, very close to the Phoenicians, the Carthaginians. That's who they was very, very close to. And so close that, the Phoenicians even had temples in Etrusca, Etruria. They even had temples over there. That was the one, if not their closest ally. And that's very telling, because the Phoenicians, the Carthaginians, is African. And a lot of people don't know that that coin that people say is Hannibal. You see the African on one side, and you see the elephant on the other side. That's actually a coin from Etrusca. You see, that's very telling. That's actually a Etruscan coin, meaning that's they printed up money. That was their money. But they somehow they venerated Hannibal, and that's telling. That's very telling for them to have Hannibal, on a coin, and being, used as money within a nation. And that's very, and so, when we bring these things up, people run from these facts, but you got a black man on your coin. What's going on with an elephant? What's going on? People say slaves don't get that kind of, you don't get that kind of flex. You know what I'm saying? You don't get the flex like that. You put the leaders on coins. Slaves don't get on no coins. They don't get monuments. I don't know where at they do that. Where the slaves get the money. No, it's the elite, the royalty get the monuments. You feel me? Now, one of the names that they call them the Tyrrhenians. You know, that was one of their names. The Etruscans was also called Tyrrhenians. And the sea right on to the left, if you, and I'm gonna get the map in there, the sea right next to Italy to the left is called the Tyrrhenian Sea. Let me get this. Let me get a better. Let me show y'all. Here you go, right here. So you can see, let me take that out of there. You see right there, the Tyrrhenian Sea. Now, what's also in, you know, and I've always mentioned it, that one of the great cities of Phoenicia was Tyre, Tyr. You see, one of the great cities of Phoenicia was Tyre. So how is it that they're called the Tyrrhenians, and one of the great cities Phoenicia was Tyre? Matter of fact, let me see where I had that at. Here you go. Now, if you look all the way down at the bottom, you see Tyre, Tyre. You see, and then you come. Let me copy this, and you come over here. Let me paste it in there, and you see right there. Let me get it up there. You see Tyre, and then you come in here, and they are called the Tyrrhenian. It's becoming quite obvious that they're so close that the language, and it's also been, you know, documented that the Etruscan alphabet come from the Phoenician. Okay, that's clear. So let me get in here and get some information on them that they don't want to give up. They were it's clear that they were both were elite maritime trading powers. The Etruscans controlled key ports in central Italy, which is the Tyrrhenian Sea, and the Phoenicians dominated long distance trade from the Levant to Iberia. Okay, they exchanged metals, iron, copper, tin, luxury goods, and purple dye, and all these things, art styles and symbols. And, you know, both the Phoenicians and the Etruscans had a military and political alliance. Very important. They were number one maritime partners, you know, as far as military also. So the Etruscans and the Carthaginians double teamed the Greeks, got on their head, you see. And so that was to stop expansion in the Western Mediterranean. So, you know, so it says Carthage was a Phoenician colony, making this a joint Phoenician Etruscan power move. You see, so, you know, they had both a political stake in supporting one another. You know, they both had a political stake in supporting one another. And so it says right here, writing system influenced by the same network. Phoenicians created the alphabetic writing system. The Greeks adopted it. They say Etruscans adopted a Greek Phoenician hybrid alphabet. Okay, a Greek Phoenician hybrid alphabet. So it says, so indirectly Phoenicia influenced, and I don't believe that. They will always want to go to the Greek. And how the hell you can't go to the Greek, because you can see that the Etruscans was in there even before the Greek. You see, so even when you talking about Greek, the Greek ain't even the Greek. What is you talking about? You talking about the Minoans was there before mainland Greece. And we just showed where, you know, they had black people on the walls at Kenosis, and they didn't carve. It's in the museum. I showed it the other day. They didn't took the painting off the wall, and got it in the museum with the Africans running on the wall, document that they was even at Knossos. They was in the earliest parts of Greece. And so we got to quit listening to these people. This shit is over with. We got to quit listening to these people because the evidence is already out there. How you gonna come and the last man on the stand, the last man to even document they on the planet? Now they counting all the numbers, giving all the chronologies, giving all the, and you the last person. And when and where everybody come from, but you can't. Where did you come from? You can't come up with nothing. What cave you come up? I don't really know, but I know, in 2000 BC, the Etruscan and the Egyptian, and we know all that. But when I ask them, well, what cave did you come out? Well, we don't know that. You know everybody else's origin but your own. That's why we lose it. Well, that's why we lose, because these is fabricated dates. These is fabricated. The truth is coming out now more so than it ever has, because the internet is just all over the place. And once the information start leaking and people get to reading and they get to seeing these real, not these AI photos, but the real images that been there for a long time now. But because our people, before the internet, you had to read, and our people don't read. They don't go into books like that. They don't even go into books today, but the photos are online now, and it's a lot easier for people just to visually, go on the internet and see these pictures. You know what I'm saying? And so, but let's look at some things now. We ain't just gonna just. I'm gonna go down here to some of these vases. You know what I'm saying? That they got that come out of Etruria. Look at this, man. Look at this. I mean, they got full-blown Africans over there. Yeah, full-blown Africans in Etruria. And see, this is critical. This is why the general trying to drop this. Because many of the Greeks say that the Egyptians look like the Ethiopians. And what's critical, when you add this with the fact that they got thousands of vases and images of Africans that they don't show, but it's coming out now, not 2 or 3. They got thousands of images of Africans, Ethiopians, black, red lip, red hair. So when they say that the Egyptians look like the Ethiopians, they're not confused about that. You can't be confused about that. How the hell you gonna be confused about that? I don't understand that. When you got all the vases that show you that what it. So even when sometimes when you say Ethiopian, they try to, well, that could mean they was a little tanned. You can't even say that. Here's the evidence, right? These vases come from Etruria. Not these, and they got them in Greece too. They got them in Greece and Rome. They got so they in the museum right now. So when they say they look like Ethiopian, the Egyptian look like, they know exactly what that means. Ain't no way you gonna mistake somebody that look like an Ethiopian. You just ain't gonna do that, But we in a confused state. We in a confused state today, because we want to look past the evidence. The evidence is already here. Okay, so now, so at the minimum, we know that the African was in Etruria. At the minimum, we know they was in Rome, they was in Greece, they was there. Now, the only thing is they're going to say, well, they were slaves. That's what they're going to say, even though how in the world they're going to be slaves? And they venerated the Ethiopians to the point they say they the closest thing to God. They the long-lived Ethiopians. You know what I'm saying? They say that Zeus, they say in Homer, say Zeus went to Ethiopia to have a banquet with the Ethiopians. All the gods, Jupiter, say they left Mount Olympus and went to Ethiopia to have a banquet with with the Ethiopians. Now, make that make sense. But now when you see them, that they slaves. You see, This is ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? What did he say that he said that statue looked like Sambo, the racist cartoon. Dang. Yeah. But you know what? I mean, it's nothing wrong with the vibes. You know what I'm saying? It's what people believe, what's in the mind. Ain't nothing wrong with it. It's right and exact. You see what I'm saying? It's right and exact. Ain't nothing wrong with it. You see? Yeah. And but and what's clear, they got, they got the African on one side, and then they got the Greek, the Eurocentric Greek on the other side. So they know damn well that the Ethiopian and Egyptian don't look like them. So they ain't in under no confusion that that the Egyptians are not Africans. They are not under any confusion. Continuing down, we looking at some more coming out of Rome and Greece, and you wouldn't even know this material even exists. You wouldn't even know, but they've been known, and that this is, and technically what you could be looking at is an Egyptian, even though they're quick to say, oh, that's an Ethiopian, African. Technically these are Egyptians. People say, well, how you gonna be in Egypt and you ain't never carved an Egyptian? You talk about them so much, you venerate them, and you mean to tell me you can't find no statues of Egyptians in Greece or Rome? Make that make sense, because you looking past them. These are the Egyptians you looking at. A lot of them, and they got other, and we know that our peoples come in various forms. We know that. But these forms has been, because this is on the far end of the spectrum where ain't gonna be no misunderstanding. You see what I'm saying? But if you can get them down on the lower end of the color spectrum, you can write them off and say, well, maybe it was a little mixed. But with these, you ain't gonna be able to do that. So they'll say, when they see these, they'll automatically say these is Nubians, even though they didn't say it in hundreds of books that the Egyptians look just like the Ethiopians. Ain't no way you gonna make no mistake like that. If they live, you know what I'm saying? You ain't gonna make no mistake like that. You just ain't gonna do it. So we got to stop playing games. We got to stop playing games. We got to. And that's what we've been doing, to keep listening to these people. And they got the evidence any damn way. Okay, they got the evidence. But the fact that they have totally, and you can go up on the internet right now, and all they keep saying is, listen to me. Even European people, they talk about Etrusca, the civilization that been written out of history. Now, why would they do that? Why would they do that? Why would they write the Etruscan civilization out of history like that? If it was them, why would they do that? They would glorify that. That's just another notch on your belt of glory. Look, another European. But the fact is, when they went in there and they saw them people, and they say, and even the Greeks accused the Etruscans of being Eastern. You know what I'm saying? Meaning that they practice culture like the Egyptians and Phoenicians. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Okay. And so this is just a little taste. And, I got a lot more, as far as artifacts that I could show, but you can only show so much in the smaller time, small time allotted for you. I appreciate y'all out there. You see, I appreciate y'all showing up for the general, checking out the knowledge. Make sure you share the video, and get over there to Patreon. Check out that file I got over there. Just hundreds and hundreds of videos with a lot of fire visuals. You see, so you're missing out when you missing them visuals. And so I'll see y'all. I'm coming right black. I'll see you in a minute, family. Arm yourself with knowledge. Bang on the Wicked Beast Daily, liberation through African education and confrontation. Boom. Black power.